Here.
Pledge allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we'll take a moment of silence. Thank you. I'm asking for board member statements. Anyone?
Just because I know Ada keeps track of our activities, I attended the new teacher luncheon today, and I really enjoyed the spaghetti, and it was so great to meet all the, not all of the new teachers, but some of them, and get to chat with them.
Thank you.
I'll second that. Thank you very much, and great to meet all of those individuals there and to hear your story today. I didn't know that story. That's the first time
Oh,
I've
I
heard
have
that.
plenty
Thank
to
you.
tell, so sit
Oh,
tight.
okay.
I know we're getting ready for the new school year, but I wanted just to backtrack and express appreciation to all the teachers that were part of the summer school program. My daughter was part of it, and she thoroughly enjoyed it. She loved the field trip to out of Africa. She's the first one in our family to have gone, so she had bragging rights when she got home. So thank you to all the teachers and the staff that made that possible.
Thank you. And I didn't know I was being tracked, so yes, I did attend today too, if we're keeping scores somewhere. So with that, Dr. Freeman, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, everyone here this evening. Tonight I have two things, really, two parts of my statement. So the first on the list is the introduction of the new PIO. So we have a person who was in our employ and who had worked with our prior two PIOs in putting out communications, graphics, and those kind of things. But he is unique in that he has a long education background, taught and served in the school district in many capacities, teacher, coach, and other roles. He's been with the district for a few years, and so he's really familiar with us. We are going to introduce to the whole community Dan Budsman, and he is going to be working with the board and kind of taking some of the projects that we already started and hopefully bringing them to the next level. So it's a unique opportunity for us to have somebody who's been in a teacher role and in a support role coming forward to take the helm of our information. And I think because when typically we promote coordinators, we don't have them come to present or speak to the board, but I think because his role is going to be interacting with you so much, we thought that we might take an opportunity as part of my report for you to welcome him to the team. And he's like a good soldier in the front row. Well, I mean, as close to the front row as you can get without being in the first two rows. Yeah.
Well, first of all, thank you, Dr. Freeman, for the warm introduction. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Freeman, and the executive team. I first want to express how humbled and excited I am to be given this opportunity to be your next community relations coordinator and public information officer. I understand that my position serves as a valuable connection to our internal and external communities, as well as a bridge to be able to tell the stories about the accomplishments that take place in our incredible district. I intend to not only promote the obvious, but to look for the special moments that make Littleton such a wonderful place to learn and grow as students and staff. As far as my previous career endeavors, this coming year will be my 22nd year in education and 7th in the Littleton Elementary School District. I have served in my time as a junior high teacher, athletic coach and director, and teacher on special assignment. Each of these positions has provided me a well-rounded look at our educational environment, which I believe will allow me to help our district shine above the others around us. What some don't know is my degree is actually in communication arts, and I did a post-bac to earn my teaching certificate. Before my educational career, I had also had the pleasure to provide marketing and graphic design services for entities that included Littleton, as well as businesses within Arizona, across the country, and around the world. All of these opportunities have helped me to develop the interpersonal and marketing skills that I believe will be an integral part to the success of my position. My job now allows me to combine my two passions. And I spent the last few years, as Dr. Freeman said, working alongside the last two PIOs that we had. I also look forward to supporting and promoting your work and the great, our governing board. In coordination with Ada Celis, I look forward to the opportunity to work with all of you as we near the school year. Once again, I'm truly looking forward to showcasing all the great things that the Littleton Elementary School District has to offer our community, so that it's easy to see why we are leaders in learning, caring, and growing. Thank you for your time, and have a great evening.
Thank you, and welcome aboard.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Okay, I never get applause like that. It's a deal. All right, well, just to get even, I got a really long report.
And it's long.
Buenas tardes a todos, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 22-23 school year. I hope your summer had a time for rest and recreation and charging up as we prepare for this special year, and we are already underway, as our board members have indicated. Preparations for the new school year once had a kind of predictable rhythm, but not these days. Last year we were looking at quarantining and isolating and masking kids. This year we're not, at least not for now anyway. We did have metrics jump into the red last week, and they're back down in the yellow again, and we are paying attention to the overall health of the community as we figure out how to move forward. And a lot's changed since then. Some things are new and some aren't. But most everything feels like we're just starting over and a fresh new year. We have growing enrollment and I think a sense of new beginnings in the Littleton School District. We have been a Kids at Hope school district for more than a decade now. Children are treasures, and the hope they have for their futures depends on caring adults in their homes and their schools and their community. Our mission continues to be to create high-quality, comprehensive, success-oriented learning and leading opportunities for everyone in our schools through the guiding principles of our governing board. Our goal continues to be delivering programs that animate and engage staff, students, and families, for our staff to make extraordinary efforts to lift the aspirations of our community, and that's what you should be able to expect from your community schools. We know that families have many choices when it comes to education of their children, and we appreciate everyone who chooses your community schools. Our founding fathers anticipated how essential education would be for the common good of democracy. Supporting the great tradition of high-quality free public education for every student is entrusted to us because we're governed by elected officials. Other options in Arizona education don't have the same oversight, and they're allowed to select a limited population to serve. These criteria are set by private interests alone. They can be motivated sometimes by concerns for students, or motivated sometimes purely by economic gain. Our state's entered into a frightening new era of dispersing funding to families at a higher rate than your public schools without accountability to taxpayers. Enough of that. Let me turn to some of the things that I think are more positive, and that is exercising choice within our school system instead of abandoning us. Our theme for this year is Meant to Shine. It's inspired by the lyrics we're borrowing from Fly by Avril Levine. Thanks. This year, we'll be reinforcing the learning students have missed in the pandemic, and we'll be asking all treasure hunters to recommit to the expectations, systems, routines, and procedures that have traditionally served us well. This reboot year will give us a chance to start out strong and give our students a chance to spread their wings across the universe, because it is their time to fly and their time to shine. We scrambled last year to provide online learning options to families that wanted it, and while other districts have abandoned it, we're entering into our second official year. LESD Online Academy is excited to announce that they will be teaming with Collier Business Academy to provide our students and families with resources and programming available to all of our district students. Our Littleton Online Academy students and their families will have the opportunity to participate in sports and clubs and events, statewide assessments on the Collier campus. We heard feedback from our families, and we're proud to provide innovative partnership to support our students' academic success and character development. I don't want to forget to mention our youngest students and teachers at the preschool program over at Littleton STEM Academy. We're so proud of them and their progress, and in case you didn't know, our preschool site is being renovated for a large expansion. I'll be able to share more details on that progress next month, but for now I can say that we've secured grants to expand preschool services for 4-year-olds and for Head Start in collaboration with Catholic Charities of Arizona. We're working to create even more opportunities for Littleton families for years to come. We just wrapped up a fantastic summer school, as members have mentioned, with hundreds of students engaged full day for a whole month. Our Wild About Learning summer school program served hundreds of kids in grades K-7, and the ASEAN Track summer camp funds from the Governor's Federal Relief Act funding provided us an opportunity to make that a full-day program for both Littleton District students and other students of age in the community as well. Students were engaged in whole and small group instruction in reading and math during the morning and enrichment activities in the afternoon. Some of those classes offered were coding and art, board games, robotics, cooking, and music. As was mentioned, the program concluded with a field trip to out of Africa. This was the largest and best attended summer school in the district's 110-year history. Our community schools offer all kinds of support that are essential for students to continue to learn and grow, such as social services, socio-emotional support, and nutrition. I'm pleased to report that our summer meal program participation increased from last year by 2,000 meals. We've served over 33,000 meals thus far this summer. These numbers include summer school students, meals delivered by our buses, students at the ACES program, and anyone else 18 years of younger in our community who participated. And we'll continue to serve those meals at Quentin STEM Academy and Eva's Bistro until the end of this week, when we shift to the new school year program. And we'd like to thank Southwest Food Service Excellence for their continuous commitment to assisting our community meet those instruction or the nutritional needs through innovative programs to make sure no students left hungry in the summer. A key component of a successful school year is consistent communication, partnership between the school and home. Teachers are getting ready to meet their students and families at Meet the Teacher Night event. That's on July 25th. It's important not to underestimate this unique opportunity for families and teachers to meet in person. Parents, we encourage you all to share your hopes and dreams you have for your children with your teachers when you meet them. All of our schools have published welcome back letters with information on opening events, safety, school start and end times, drop-off procedures, and plans and activities to expand and reinforce academic focus. You can visit our district website and choose your student's academy and read the principal's message, review calendar of upcoming events, and throughout the year, I encourage you to follow your academy on social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Most importantly, if you have children in our schools, establish your Synergy Parent View account and be attentive to messages and that you may receive by email and by remind. In addition to keeping regular contact with your child's teacher and attend school, we hope you'll attend school engagement events and make sure your student is at school on time every day, unless, of course, they have symptoms of illness, and then we want you to keep them home and help them get better. Together, we'll ensure that all students continue their growth towards social, emotional, and academic success. Participants, preparations for in-service for new and returning staff have been ongoing for several months, and as we said, new teachers started today with a lot of orientation and a luncheon. I want to thank Ms. Rios, Mr. Nielsen, and Ms. Ushnick for being able to be there and attending the luncheon. I know our new teachers always appreciate that. Returning teachers have a staggered return back to in-service, and that starts on July 20th. This year, the Littleton Boot Camp is a new session for administrators that have been hired in the last 2 years. They're going to meet for, all of the administrators are going to meet for their annual retreat on July 15th. And lastly, I'm excited our plans include restart our annual in-person kickoff on July 26th. If everything goes well, our keynote speaker, Mr. Zablocki, will help us with our efforts to reboot and shine this year. Before I close, I want to share our sincere condolences to staff members who lost family in the year just past, and say congratulations to our staff for 3 healthy new babies that just came to us, 2 boys and a girl, become new members of the Littleton family. We're so happy for them, and they serve as a reminder that in our lives we will suffer losses, but we are also given much, and we have much to continue to work for. In closing, I'd like to remind everybody that our time to fly and shine begins bright and early on July 27th, our first day of school. We'll be easing into the 22-23 school year with our first early release day, and good Lord willing and the river don't rise, the buses will run on time. We look forward to seeing all of you then, and that's all I have this evening.
Are you sure? Thank you.
Good Lord willing.
All right, next we have the program showcase. So I'll turn that over to you.
President Rios, members of the governing board, Dr. Freeman, it is a great honor to present to you our program showcase for this evening. Tonight, Mrs. Carrie Chicas, assistant principal at Quinton STEM Academy, will showcase the Littleton School District's Washington, D.C. student and staff experience. We have the great privilege of partnering with World Strides for student and staff travel. World Strides is passionate about student travel, and their educational travel company is the first to be accredited as an actual school. They have approximately 450,000 students travel with them annually, and among them are our Littleton students. A few of the long-term benefits of student travel include 92% of students report travel had a lasting impact on their worldview, 97% reported an increase in self-confidence, and 62% felt that an out-of-class experience was the most impactful. Here to share with the governing board and community our student and staff travel is our assistant principal at Quinton STEM Academy, Mrs. Carrie Chicas.
Good evening, President Reyes, members of the board, Dr. Freeman, members of the executive team, and guests. I'm Carrie Chicas, the assistant principal at Quinton STEM Academy, and I will be presenting on our 8th grade field trip that we took this March to Washington, D.C. First, I would like to thank the Littleton Education Foundation for supporting our trip and for awarding several students a scholarship that they were able to go. And thank you to the governing board for their support for student and staff travel. We had 38 students, 4 chaperones, and 6 parents from Littleton who traveled to Washington, D.C. over spring break. From the moment we get off the plane and onto our bus, we eat lunch, and then we are off to our first destination, which is the Museum of Natural History. World Strides provides us, all students and adults, with journals that we can keep notes and interesting facts of all the places that we visit. We visited several museums, monuments, memorials, and historical places. Our tour guide, Kurt, was so informative and engaging. He packed our days full of our scheduled sites and much more. We were able to spend time in front of Ford's Theater, the Kennedy Center, the National Archives Museum, And when our 8th grade students get to see in person what they've been learning about in history, it ignites a passion for learning. They were so excited to see the Declaration of Independence, Bill of Rights, the Constitution, where George Washington lived, and the Air and Space Museum. The students did an amazing job on the field trip, and we received compliments from our hotel coordinator, our tour guide, and our bus driver. This is our group in front of, is this the right one? Okay, sorry, I can't see very good. That's our group in front of the White House, and I just want to say a special thank you to Miss Brenda Elamio. She was our teacher chaperone, Vanessa Sanchez, and Jeremiah Gallegos. This is Mount Vernon and the Washington Monument. This is the Lincoln Memorial. I think this is a different slideshow, so I'm gonna look at mine. Sorry. This is a group at the Ford's Theater and Lincoln Memorial. This is Williamsburg. This is the trip, I think, from last year. Sorry, this is not the right PowerPoint. I apologize. This is not my PowerPoint, Jim. Oh, it was? Sorry, that's why I was getting confused. I was like, that is not my group of kiddos. Right, yeah. It's just not the ones I went with.
Well, thank you. Is that what you had to present? Okay.
We're
We're
going to pull it up
I
from a
have
different
8 slides.
location.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Gotcha. Okay.
Repository where we keep all this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We're going back to that.
Okay.
I have a couple quotes from students that shared their favorite monument.
This is the right one, Carrie.
Thank you. All right. Now I won't go into panic mode. Okay.
If you go to slide 2,
There we
Mr.
go.
Garrell, there you go.
Thank you. Thank you. I was trying to roll with it, and then I was like, I didn't go to Williamsburg, but okay. This is our group here in front of the White House. This is our group in front of the U.S. Capitol building. They were so excited because as we were trying to coordinate this picture, a lot of congressmen and women were walking by, and some of our kids that are pretty well into politics, they were able to recognize some of them. So they were all excited and trying to say hi, and so that was exciting. So we did finally get the picture. This is our Lincoln Memorial that we visited at night. It's beautiful. The Vietnam Veterans Memorial. We had a student that actually found a relative, was able to take a piece of paper and a pencil and shade their name. So they got to take that home with them, and that was really nice. All right, so Adrian Alamio, he was our 8th grade student last year from Quinton STEM Academy. And his favorite monument of the trip was the Washington Monument. And let me tell you what he said. I liked it most because compared to online, in person, it looks so much different. Like you get a different feeling. You can put your feet up and it feels like you are moving. The view from the bottom up is amazing to see. And Kurt, our tour guide, I've been on this trip before, but he said, lay down on the ground and put your feet up. You get a totally different perspective. So here's all our kids laying down on the ground with our feet up. Even the adults, we were all doing it and taking pictures. And it looks like you just can walk along this pathway. It was the coolest thing. So a lot of the kids spent a lot of time doing that. That was really fun. Oh, we were all about it. So they loved it. Julian Torres, he's a student from Rios Service Academy. His favorite monument was Franklin D. Roosevelt. My favorite place is FDR Monument because of the nice view overlooking DC and other monuments. I also liked it was purposely connected to other monuments in the area like Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial. FDR is also my favorite president because of his ability to create the New Deal, and he pulled America out of the Great Depression. He was very in tune with all the places we visited in Washington, D.C. This is our group at Mount Vernon, George Washington's estate. It is located on the banks of the Potomac River. It's beautiful. We get to tour the whole place and inside and out. This is my favorite place to visit in Washington, D.C., the Arlington National Cemetery. We watch the changing of the guard every hour from October 1st to March 31st, and every half an hour from April 1st and to September 30th, they change the guard. It's a beautiful, emotional ceremony. This place that we visit, we do this our last night that we're there. Usually it's not on our itinerary, but the tour guides are amazing and the bus drivers are amazing, and they get us to more places that we could ever imagine in the short time that we're there. But we go on top of the Kennedy Space Center. You can walk around the whole entire terrace. You can see the city. It's beautiful. And so the kids love it. They take a lot of pictures, and that's Kurt, our tour guide. Thank you. Any questions?
No, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm
Thank
sure they'll never forget the experience.
No, I hope not. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chicas. We have a second program showcase for this evening. President Reyes, members of the governing board, Dr. Freeman. This evening, we are going to be hearing from Mr. Antonio Bryant, assistant principal at the Fine Arts Academy. He will be showcasing Littleton School District's Olay staff cultural experience. Our staff had the opportunity to go to Querétaro, Mexico, to discover the culture throughout a 2-week language immersion experience that includes a homestay with a family vetted and trained by the Olay Center for Language and Culture, small class instruction, cultural activities, and historic tours. Welcome, Mr. Bryant. And I hope we have the correct presentation for you.
Not, I'll just talk. Buenas tardes, good evening, President Reyes and members of the board, Dr. Freeman, members of the executive team, and guests. My name is Antonio Bryant, and I'm the assistant principal at Fine Arts Academy. It is my pleasure to present to you tonight on our experience in Querétaro, Mexico 2022. Accompanying on this trip was myself, 10 other teachers, from Estrella Vista, Quentin, Tres Rios, Collier, all the schools except Littleton. The purpose of this trip was to experience what it was like to embrace ourselves and the culture, climate, and community of the students we serve while learning the language. Here is us arriving in Querétaro on Saturday, May 28th. Once arriving, we had a van shuttle us to our host family. During this time, we were able to get to know one another, explore the city, since we will be spending 2 weeks together. So we're just here arriving at the airport. They greeted us with ice cream, which was our favorite, and we got on the bus and headed to our host family. When arriving to our host family, we were greeted with a nice meal and learned about the rules of our host family, had bonding time, and learned about some of their family traditions. We had dinner with our family every day around 2:30 p.m. A typical meal was a soup, a salad, main course, and a dessert. I must say we all enjoy having 3 full course meals every day because we don't get that often, well, some of us. So it was really nice. A typical day in school, we attended school from 8 to 6:30. We attended school from 8 to 6:30 at night. We had 2 hours of grammar class, 1 hour of conversation, and also entitled we did field experience throughout this. So we learned about the culture of Querétaro. Here are some of the testimonials that some of the teachers explored Some of them said Ole was one of the best experiences I ever had, not only with learning a new language, but with immersion of learning about history of the whole culture was magnificent. It also allowed me to really appreciate and bond with my coworkers. Another coworker who teaches at Quentin, Nicole Hansen, said the experience challenged me to understand and speak Spanish at a high level. It truly gave me the experience of being a second language learner and realizing how hard it can be for our students. I will look at teaching ELD students differently after being a language student myself. And another one that really stood out was thank you to the LASD board and cabinet for supporting a program that provides such a unique, authentic opportunity to develop more language skills. The curriculum and lessons we learned at Ole campus, as well as our experiences being immersed in Mexican culture, families, and stakeholders here in the LASD. Muchas gracias. We're excited to apply our new skills and confidence this year and beyond. Here is some of, we were able to visit a school in Ole. Here are some of the pictures of the Ole staff. The staff was very generous. They were really pushed us to learn Spanish. We learned, I would say I learned more words and phrases, but some people were able to have a day-to-day conversation once leaving the program. And we also went to San Miguel. We also went to Teotihuacan, which is where early settlers took place. We visited a school and learned, oh, I already read that. We also learned about the culture. Here we are. We did Lele dolls. We also visited different museums. We also painted pictures, so it was a great experience. At the end of the 2-week period, we did graduation, and we earned 45 clock hours for professional development. Thank you, President Reyes, members of the board, Dr. Freeman, members of the executive team, and guests. Are there any questions?
No, thank you very much. It looks like a fun trip.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant.
All right, so at this point, is there a call to the public? No. Okay, so no call to the public. We'll move on to item 9, the consent agenda. Is there any items that the board wishes to have pulled off the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve or disapprove the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion will pass. Thank you. Moving on to item 10. This is a public hearing for the expenditure budget for fiscal year 22-23.
Thank you, President Reyes, members of the governing board, Dr. Freeman, and Littleton community. This public hearing is being conducted for consideration of residents and taxpayers of the Littleton Elementary School District community to present the proposed expenditure budget for fiscal year 22-23 and truth in taxation. In the regular meeting following this hearing, an agenda item will be introduced to adopt the estimated truth in taxation levy and the expenditure budget. We are holding this public hearing in accordance with ARS 15905, which requires a district to hold a public hearing when adopting a budget. You had seen this timeline in all of our budget presentations, but I wanted to review it with the board one more time. When we look at the budget life cycle, there are many dates and milestones the district adheres to. We began looking at the budget in early spring to bring you a proposed budget in June. And then we are at the adopted budget in July. We were assuming that legislature would not get the budget done prior to this meeting and that the Auditor General, which issues and publishes the budget forms, would not have new forms for us. Luckily, and thankfully, they did have new forms for us, so when we adopt our budget, we won't have to revise again prior to the September 15th deadline. Typically, first revision would happen in December if necessary. In October, we send the tax bill, which will be mailed to individuals and businesses within the district boundaries, which include the primary and secondary tax rates. And we will discuss this later in the presentation. The district's last opportunity to revise their budget is in May, and then the annual financial report is a report on the budget expenditures is due in October. First, I think administration would like to thank our legislators, State Senator Contreras and Representatives Espinoza and Sierra, for all the hard work they had in this legislative session. We appreciate the consistent focus on education throughout the budget process. When we look at the budget formula factors, these are all the new weights and dollars that the legislature put into school budgets, so we can review those. First, our first estimate is an increase of 156.7 ADM for fiscal year 23. As discussed at the June meeting, the district had a steady enrollment trend in FY22 and saw a strong enrollment push towards the end of the school year. The district has seen a higher than normal enrollment for kindergarten at this point in the year also. The legislature budget increased its base support limit by 8.76%, or $384.62 per weighted ADM. The budget bill that was signed by the governor also repealed ARS 15952, which was a 1.25% increase to the base support level for teacher comp. So really what the districts got was the 8.76 minus that 1.25 that legislature took away. We are also getting an increase to the transportation support level that feeds into the revenue control limit. This increase was 2.2%. This brings the state support level per route mile to from $2.27 to $2.32. In the proposed budget, the district estimated this would be slightly higher due to the increase in fuel costs, but that is what had got approved. In this budget, we're also seeing the first ever increase to the district additional assistance or capital funding for districts. The legislature increased public school district additional assistance by 11.4%, bringing the amount received per weighted ADM to $502.33. The legislature also made some adjustments to Group B weights. First, they created a quote-unquote poverty weight. This had been discussed in prior legislative sessions, but never passed the finish line. This provides districts with a weight of 0.018 for every student that qualifies for free and reduced lunch. For Littleton, that's just over 3,800 students, according to our last reports. The last adjustment of note for this budget is an increase in the special education weight for students with developmental delays, emotional disabilities, mild intellectual disabilities, and specific learning disabilities. That weight increased from 0.093 to 0.292, just over a three times amount increase. With all of these adjustments, the district was very close to the estimated June budget for our proposed budget. Between the proposed and adopted budget, we are adjusting down just $350,000. So we were able to estimate in June, and we were within $350,000 of what they actually came out with the legislature. The entirety of this adjustment is happening in the first line, which is the base support level. The M&O budget calculations for the adopted budget have a new revenue control limit. You'll see there on the third line of $36.36 million, and the general budget limit, which is the very last line, of $46.24 million. What I'd like to do is review the district's primary assessed valuation. This starts from 2013 and works its way all the way up to current year. As you can see, in 2014 through 16, we had a moderate increase in property values, and we had exceptional growth from 17 to 21. The growth in the primary assessed value in 22 was 12.38%, which was obviously the highest in the last 10 years. Annual growth for existing property is limited to 5% annually, which was Prop 117. However, growth from reclassification of property and construction is not limited. This upswing in value is credited to new construction in the district and the conversion of vacant land to residential property. With a high number of building permits in Avondale, it is expected the district will continue to see strong assessed value grow in the next few years as well. This slide gives us a 10-year look back at tax rates for the district. Using preliminary calculation, the district is estimating a tax rate for fiscal year 23 of 5.1639, a decrease of just over 30 cents from last school year. The decrease in rate is due largely to the very strong growth in the assessed value from the last slide. A truth in taxation statute deals only with the amounts levied in the Adjacent Ways Fund. It is funded on the primary tax rate and is authorized by the governing board. The Littleton School District has set a levy for Adjacent Ways of $800,000 for fiscal year 23. Our publication for Truth in Taxation requires a district post the levy amount for a $100,000 home with the levy and without. Without the levy, the rate would obviously be $0. With the levy on a $100,000 home, the rate's $25.80. This was calculated into the combined tax rate on the previous slide and still accounts for a 30-cent decrease to the overall district tax rate. What I'd like to do now is take any questions or comments from the board or community.
At this time, is there any questions from the board? Seeing or hearing no questions from the audience, I will move the governing board reconvene the regular meeting, and I show 6:45.
I'll second.
Hearing a second. Do we need a motion? Do we need a roll call on it? No. Okay. So it is moving. We are now moving on to item 11. And it looks like you're also going to be talking about adoption now of the expenditure budget.
Thank you, President Reyes. So what administration is asking at this point is for the governing board to adopt the budget as presented in the last item.
So do I have a motion for item 11?
I move that the governing board adopt the Adjacent Ways levy and the expenditure budget for fiscal year 2022-2023 as presented, and then authorization of expenditures in the M&O section in excess of any subsection, provided all expenditures do not exceed the total budget.
I'll second that.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion will pass. Thank you. We'll move on to item 12, and it's still your floor.
This is going to be a theme going forward.
I think so.
Thank you, President Reyes, members of the governing board, Dr. Freeman, and Littleton community. In this item, administration is asking the board to consider waiving the student athletic fees for fiscal year 23. Currently, students pay $25 per sports season with a maximum per student of $60 per year. If a family has multiple students enrolled in the district, the maximum a family can pay is $90 per year. The administration reviewed the fees collected by the district in the last full year prior to the pandemic and determined that if the governing board waived athletic fees for the coming year, approximately $28,000 of revenue would need to be replaced with other funds. Administration recommends offsetting the sports revenue with ESSER funds in the amount of $28,000. This sports fee waiver is designed to assist families as the cost of living expenses has increased over the last year. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the board has.
Thank you. Is there questions on the student fee waiver? Yes, sir.
Just the one there, Brian. I assume we're waiving it just for 1 year, and then a year from now, we will reevaluate and see what's going on at that particular time.
Madam President, Mr. Nielsen, this would only be for this coming up school year, correct?
Thank you.
Other questions or concern? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion.
I move that the governing board approve the suspension of the student athletic fees for fiscal year 2022-2023.
I'll second that.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion will pass. And I think that's a great opportunity for every child to have an opportunity to play if, for whatever reason, socioeconomics gets in the way. So that's exciting. We're moving on to continue letting you have the platform.
Thank you, President Reyes, members of the governing board, Dr. Freeman, Littleton community. This item is coming before the board because the district needs to make adjustments to the salary and wage schedules due to the raises approved by the board during the June meeting. Administration is recommending increasing the bottom of all schedules by 3% and the top of all schedules by 5%. At the June meeting, the board approved raises of 1 1/4% for certified and administrative staff and 1 3/4% for classified staff. The board also approved raises for all employees of 0.75% for every 1% provided during the budget process, above the required 2% inflationary increase. On June 25th, the legislature ended the session and passed additional funding for school districts. The new funding above the expected 2% inflationary amount was $296.81, making the new base support level $4,775.27. This is an increase of 6.63%, resulting in a 5% wage increase to returning staff, and that's rounded to 0.03%. The administration recommends providing a 3% increase in wage and salary to new hires starting on or after July 1st, 2022, as well as new staff that were under contract for fiscal year 23. Prior to this increase, we're asking the board to do this to relieve compression at the base of all the schedules. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the board has.
At this point, is there questions regarding the salary and wage schedule? Hearing none, I just wanted to make sure when you talk about 3 at the top and at the bottom, you're talking minimum and maximum? Okay, thank you. All right, so at this point, do I have a motion?
I'll go ahead and make that motion, that the governing board approve the increases to the salary and wage schedule for fiscal year 2022-2023 to accommodate the increase of 5% approved on June 14th and the increase of 3% for new hires and to relieve compression at the base of the schedules.
Thank you. I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion will pass. Thank you. Next, Dr. Freeman, this looks like this might be your platform.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. As I mentioned earlier in my comments, we're paying close attention to things that are still going on with communicable disease. Of course, there's a lot of things besides COVID and its variants, Omicron and BA.5. Flus have ticked up and other things being passed along. I don't think we have a lot of concern about monkeypox just yet. But of course, we're paying attention to everything being put out by Maricopa County Health. The legislature also passed some restrictions on public bodies and requirements that they can make. Those did not have emergency clauses, so they go into effect 90 days after sine die, which is around the late middle of September. We were watching the metrics and were concerned when they went high that we may need to have some kind of precautions in place to start the year, but then they dropped back down to the yellow range. So what we've done is gone through that red, yellow, green chart that we had showed you in the past and looked at some of the things that we thought might be nuanced differences and combined some categories together. And we also changed some of the language in anticipation of the prohibitions going in place in September. And so that is attached. There's 2 attachments. One is the form that goes to the Department of Education, and the other is the new mitigation chart, which is here. So you can see now it's gone from several pages down to 2 because we've condensed some things together. And really the big change in this, because we're not going to be, the only reason we would have to quarantine or isolate people is if that power was passed to us through the health department. Of course, we never required vaccinations, but we did require masks at one time when spread was high. So the language is much like what the board talked about before the pandemic got worse, where masks are optional in green, they're encouraged in yellow, and then they're strongly recommended in red. And our idea is that if we continue to make the school community and staff aware of what these levels are, and how people should respond to that, there will be a big element of personal responsibility. There are a few changes that happen in the way we would seat kids and move them. So the idea would be to have some distance, not have kids facing each other at lunch and those kind of things, which we think are pretty reasonable precautions and not really onerous on the staff or school. Of course, all of the hygiene things of hand washing and coughing into your elbow. Of course, if people want to wear masks, we want to be sure people feel comfortable doing that, and we would expect that some staff and students will. We had that at the end of last year, but we've simplified this a lot and modified it to meet not only the current thinking, I think, of the community, but some of the changes that went through the legislature. So we have scaled this back quite a bit right now. We're thinking that we're in a medium spread environment, which is to express a lot of caution to people, but really doesn't create restrictions on the school, community, or programs. It just really alerts people to the fact that there is a medium spread and that people should take precautions. Now, what we will continue to enforce is if anybody is symptomatic, if there's fevers or coughing or any of those things, people need to stay home, staff and students. So what the main thing we learned is being symptomatic is an indication of being contagious. So whether it's the flu or COVID or anything else like that, we're expecting people, if they have symptoms, not to be at school to work or to learn. I can just pop up the other form if you would, Jim. This is the one that's required by the department where we summarize the mitigation plan into these categories that the Department of Ed requires to collect. In this way, they're uniform across all the school districts, and they can compile them and report to the federal government. And we have to do that every 6 months, so we have attached that also. We would like the board to consider those revisions. We think they're a little more moderate and reasonable for the state of the pandemic that we're in, and our sincere wish to keep kids learning in person and in school as much as we can.
Thank you. So at this point, do I have a motion for the mitigation plan?
I can go ahead and make that motion.
Thank you.
I move that the governing board approve the updated consolidated plan for low, medium, and high community spread as required by ARP and ESSER, consolidated plan for low, medium, and high community spread as required by the same entity, ARP and ESSER, every 6 months.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Hearing a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion will pass. And that looks to be our last agenda, so at this point, I'll ask for a motion for adjournment.
I move that we adjourn at 6:56.
I'll
Thank-
second that.
Thank you. Motion is adjourned 6:56.
I want to hear some more from Mr. French. He did a really good job.
Aye.
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
I think that's unanimous, sir. Thank you.